In these future times, you gotta keep in mind to keep six. Social distancing is a must. Brought to you.
Hey. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. I am good.
Happy
Can you hear
Wednesday.
me okay? Are you able to see me okay?
You're frozen right now. I can hear you. Okay, I can see you moving now.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're frozen on my end. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or what, but good to go. But how have you been? How's your Wednesday?
Good, good. It's the middle of the week, so that's always a positive. How is yours?
It's good. It's productive. Productive. I've been really looking forward to this. So I'm super excited to be able to share this space with you. Thank you again for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this from when you messaged me, so thank you again for thinking of me and reaching out. Oh. Oh wait, can you hear me? You're frozen right now.
Here, are you able to hear me? I can hear you, but you're frozen. I don't know if it's me or...
I just turned off my Wi-Fi just in case it was me.
Okay, how about I do... At least we eliminate both sides.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay.
You gotta love technology.
So, as mentioned before, we love to have individuals from the community on to really talk about what they're doing in the community, to draw attention to what's going on today, currently, how we can better ourselves. And you, my love, have been dropping gems for the last 2 years.
Oh, thank you.
And I have seen the progression and I have seen the growth. And first of all, I want to acknowledge that and say, keep up the good work. You've been doing amazing. And I've seen everything that's been coming thus far, and continue doing what you're doing. Big up yourself. But yeah, let's talk about you. For those who don't know who you are, who is Paige?
Okay, so Paige, I founded a company on the business side in terms of what you're talking about. I'm bigging on myself. I founded a company called Paige, One of Some. The purpose of that is to really empower the millennial generation, both personally and professionally, but to really change the narrative by starting those conversations and those hard conversations, because my approach is very blunt, very, can I swear here?
You're
okay,
good.
so I'm very no bullshit with my approach for everything. So that started off really with Instagram, because that's where a lot of the millennial generation is, just really explaining the things that I've gone through and my take on them. And then that really led to me getting paid to speak at like different schools or organizations. And then my most recent, I would say, endeavor is I just got published for my first book. So I am a speaker and author. Most importantly, I'm like a cool mom. That's like the best title I have. And a wife. So shout out to my husband, who's bigging up the chats right now.
I see it. AJ, I see you. I know it's amazing. You've done so much, and I almost feel like, I know it wasn't overnight, but it almost feels like it happened overnight.
Yeah.
Like I remember, and I was saying that to you the other day, was like, I remember when you posted when you first started Page One of Some, and to see where it's come from then till now is amazing. And that whole journey, it's been a journey. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to by any chance say that it's been easy, but it's definitely been a journey. And what you've done thus far in terms of focusing specifically on millennials also speaks to your own experiences and your own journey itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were some of the lessons that you experienced, maybe let's say prior to page one of some, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel that they've groomed you into the woman that you are today?
So there's a lot of things that really brought me to this point. I would say we'll start off with the whole image of perfection. That's where everything really started off, where I didn't realize that until later in life, where I really felt like I needed to keep up like this perfect image all of the time. And it's not something that I asked for. It's kind of how life went, where I didn't talk about there being any problems. And because I wasn't the most vulnerable person, the people around me would share their issues. I would be there to help, but it's like Paige doesn't have problems. She just helps us with ours, right? And because that's what life was for so long, I continued that. And when I got into university, amazing experience, but a lot of people who follow me heard this story countless times. I went into university, obviously hype, moved away from school. I'm like one of the first people in my family to go to university. I'm changing the game. And then it went like downhill really quick. So I went in for an honors program, and to fast forward, I ended up getting letters of academic suspension. So I was about to get kicked out of university. I was getting caught for plagiarism. It was a lot, and my parents were very supportive financially when it came toward my schooling. But again, with that idea of perfection, I wasn't telling my parents I was about to get kicked out of school. When I was with friends, I was super positive and everything was fine, you know. And it wasn't really until that moment of being en route to getting kicked out of university to then graduating with honors and really changing my life around. And it really showed me you don't need to be perfect all the time, but it was also the idea of embracing that failure, because we're so looked at like failure is such a negative thing. And I speak about it on page one of some, I speak about it in my book, but the idea of failing fast is the most important thing. And when you're failing, like failing fast, like correlates to failing properly. Like, what am I learning from this? Because I could have easily just gotten that letter and been like, oh shit, well, had some good parties, you know, I ate some McDonald's and school is done, you know, it's done for me. But it was not only the educational aspect, it's what I learned from myself of what I was truly capable of. Because in high school, as a lot of us know, like a lot of the time, sometimes if teachers like you can kind of pass through. You're not really prepared for life after high school. So being kind of put in that situation where it's really you, that's it. It really changed the game for me in terms of mindset, where I couldn't just win because of my personality. And then another kind of direction that brought page one of some to be is I ended up getting a job in corporate. So I worked in the travel industry, traveled through Europe, did all of that stuff, and I got a job in corporate. And a lot of people know when you hear corporate, you think you made it. So I was in corporate out of university. I thought I was killing, and I realized it's not really always what it's cracked up to be. And in that, I got promoted very quickly. And in getting promoted quickly, working with the head of HR, working with the CEO, I realized how this generation was looked at and the opportunities we lose because of stereotypes, right? Yeah. And representation in all forms matter. But by 2025, millennials will be taking over the workforce. But if it's these older generations that are really looking down on us, we're losing out on those opportunities. So page one of some really stemmed from seeing the issues in the corporate world, things that I'm interviewing people in my age group that aren't aware of how to dress for an interview, how to negotiate their salary, what they can actually get out of that world. And on top of that, a lot of people in my circle of friends, they are so, and family as well, they're so talented. So it was also almost that motivation and inspiration, because I felt like, oh, all I'm good at is talking. So it kind of all worked itself out. So it really was embracing failure and really seeing the issues in the corporate world, how our generation is looked at. And of course, I did a lot of adulting in a very short period of time. Like I got married, bought a home, and pregnant in like a 2-month period. So it was a lot of stuff that our generation didn't even know about buying property and financing and what pregnancy is like actually like, and the craziness of marriage and people doing all this stuff for Instagram when that stuff doesn't even matter. So it was a lot of stuff that happened in a condensed period of time where I'm like, you know what, I need to talk about this just to help people, because that was the purpose. And then I got paid for it, so it all worked out perfectly.
You turned your passion into a career opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And especially now as millennials, like now is the time where we have that opportunity to be able to turn our passions and what we like. We're able to do something with that. That wasn't something that you could do in our parents' generation or before that. It was like you have to go to school. You've got to, you know, and now you've been able to take something that you love doing and you're now able to get it as a source of get a source of income from it.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of failing properly, because like you mentioned, failure is something that's always seen as a negative. We feel like we have these expectations that are in front of us, and we have to achieve those expectations, and if we don't, we've let down our parents, we've let down our family. So one question, I actually just got a question. How old is Paige? I don't know.
Oh, how old am I, or how old is
yeah
the
I
oh.
no I
I'm
just
30.
got 30. So as a millennial yourself, you've proven that there are other options.
Yeah.
There are other ways of being able to take what could be seen as a failure and to be able to do something with it and to learn from it. You're turning that, what we would call turning that L into a lesson. Why, and I know you've kind of mentioned this quite a bit in terms of why millennials specifically, but you also mentioned the lack of representation. Lack of representation when it comes to being in the workforce, being recognized for being the ones that are making those decisions. And because there's a lack of representation, there can also be seen to be a lack of support.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that lack of representation and lack of support is in its own is an amazing point, because if someone cannot resonate with you or your background, they can try. But if they do not fully understand your background or where you come from or your life experiences, they can't always support you in that way that you need that support. So as an example, we'll bring up what you had initially mentioned in terms of our parents, right? So our parents come from such a different time than us, especially most of them are not born in Canada, right? So they're usually coming from other places. So for example, like my dad, he came from Jamaica. So when he came here, you're raised on structure. Like you get that 9 to 5, you get your benefits, you take care of your family. Like this is what you're supposed to do. And for me, being born in Canada and being a millennial, for one, times being so different, if we bring it to the example of even me writing the book, it was an extremely stressful time, and it was like a shit show, to say the least. But going to your parents for that support when I was in the corporate world, or going, we'll use my dad specifically because my mom is a lot more open, but my dad didn't understand, like, why are you doing all of these things? You have a good job. Like those things get shut down. So now if we even use that example into the corporate world, if people don't understand your back or your age, or your background, or even things that are working against you, things that you dealt with or whatever, it is hard to get that support. And it's so important to, quote unquote, have a seat at that table or have that form of representation. And that's why I'm so big on this generation. And I'm so big on people in this generation, for one, doing things the right way. Because as much as I love millennials, a lot of us are still caught up in a lot of bullshit with social media and thinking like there's just so many things with social media. Well, I'm sure we'll get into that after, but people who are genuinely wanting to support people and give people that outlet. So the reason that I talk on all of these things, even on like my Instagram page or whatever, is because if I came from the corporate world, let me tell you how to negotiate your salary. If you're going through a natural hair journey, let me tell you what it was like for me to grow out the perm and whatever. If you're a mom, let's talk about the C-section pouches together and the weight problems. Like there's so many levels to those things that I want to be that source for you to like come to and bitch to me about all this stuff. and give you that support, because I know firsthand what it's like in so many elements of life to not have that.
Mm.
Sorry, that's a long answer.
No, no, you're good. I feel like, and that's the one thing, is that we don't just talk. Like we speak about what's going on in social media. We talk about like what's going on like clout wise, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to being vulnerable, it's not conversation.
Yeah.
And you're starting the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're right, like conversations from her hair journey to getting a mortgage and insurance, and like you've covered everything. Being a mother, being an entrepreneur, being a wife, when it comes to relationships and communications, you've really covered everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a
Thank
lot
you.
of that, even for yourself, involves vulnerability
Yeah.
because it's coming from your own personal experience, what worked for you, but also what maybe didn't work for you and what you've learned from, so that you're able to provide others with that support or advice so that they don't fall or have those same experiences,
Mm-hmm.
right? Somebody's saying that what we see on social media is 5% of a person's reality. And it's so true, because you only see what someone chooses to show you.
Exactly. And that is one of the major issues I have with social media. Yes, you don't want to put your whole life out there. Not everyone is as public as they need to be. Like for me, I was never, when I started Paige One as Some, I was really not vulnerable at all. I was really talking about anything having to do with like the typical, the home, the marriage, whatever. But the issue that I have with social media is people just being an after story. So a lot of, you don't have to have your own business to be successful. I never want to give that impression, but when people have made it to whatever element of life, whether it's their own business or working for someone, whatever, people just are at the top, but no one wants to share how they got there. And I think you don't have to share the blood, sweat, and tears, but even partially sharing that story will give someone hope, right? Because a lot of people on social media, like I think it was Nathan that said it, you only see the good part of their life. But say, for example, like I'm a speaker, or we'll use the book as an example. I purposely posted about the book like all the time when stuff was amazing and when everything turned to shit, because when I posted that I was writing a book, everyone was so hyped. So many people are like, I've always wanted to do that, I feel like I'm doing this through you. And I didn't want to just pop up like, oh, I'm an author now. I want people to come on that journey with me, to see kind of what it took. And I think there's so many social media like influencers or people who are doing amazing things, but no one really sees how they got to that point. And that could simply be the motivation someone needs to just start. Like that's it. Like you don't have to have a one-on-one. You don't have to post every day about that, but just say like, I started from here and I came to this point. Not like, well, all of a sudden I made it. You can't talk to me. Don't DM me. I don't respond to DMs. This is my booking info, whatever. Like I get when you get to a point, that's what it is. But remember what we're trying to do. When you're doing things for a community to help people, like that's what you want. And whether you want to have kids or not, say if you do, these are the people that are raising that next generation. And if you're going to be full of shit the whole time, then you guys are messing up with my child's friends. So we need to make it more community based and more together, so
Yeah. I think Nathan saying seeing the progress also helps to build your brand and the narrative.
mm-hmm.
And there's been so much work, like even yourself, that you put into your own branding.
Yeah.
What was your first initial expectation when you first started Page One of Sun? So before the book, before all that, when you first decided, okay, I'm gonna start Page One of Sun and I'm just gonna put content out there. What was your initial expectation? First off.
I actually had no expectations. I was actually so all of my friends, most of them were building their own businesses. It was taking off. And at that time, my husband, who's on location, he started his own videography business, literally overnight, killing it, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there, I call my mom and I'm like, everyone has a hobby except for me. Like, am I not good at anything? Like, why is everyone good at something except for me? So when I came up with the premise of doing page one of some, there was zero thought in my mind to be a speaker, to write a book, to literally do anything. The whole idea was, I've been through this, let's talk about that. And because when I started, I was working in corporate, it was just every day, like arguing with those people every day about, you know, like to give these people opportunities, or, you know, to kind of adjust the mindset. Another reason as well, it was almost selfish in a sense of me starting, not only of the whole not having a hobby, and I did want to change things for like the generation or people who followed me, because I started a brand new account, so I had no followers anyway. But it wasn't only that, it was also because when I started, I was a new mom. So I was losing like who I was as a person, or I was kind of learning who I was, I guess, growing to be. And because it was like, it's my first son, I'm so like momming times 5,000, like not seeing friends, not doing this. Like it was just my son and I, and of course my husband. It was almost like a way thinking like maybe this will bring like Paige back. You know, maybe I'll find a way to balance, you know, being on when I really started doing it, I was going into maternity leave. So like doing the maternity leave and having my son and kind of working everything out to almost find myself, or find who I'm supposed to be, because I was just momming. That's all I was really doing. So yeah, no expectations, to say the least. So that's why I'm pleasantly surprised and just so thankful that it even like, it just shows that you being yourself is enough. And when I started, I'm not the person who gets, like, as you can see now, like my hair is in a bun, like no makeup or anything. But when I started, I did get lost in the sauce in terms of thinking I got to put on makeup, I got to cover up this 5-head. I was like just starting my like natural hair journey, so half the perm was in, and then there's a little bit of curls. I was trying to like, if you see my original videos to now, it's very different. But I was trying to be something I wasn't, because that's what I thought I had to be on social media. And it wasn't until really kind of going into it, and as you mentioned, like forcing yourself almost to be vulnerable, that's what you need to do. And that is where time later showed me, like, I don't have to dress up and do all this stuff just to send a message on social media. Like it actually is about the message. Like, don't worry about how I'm looking right now. Understand that I'm trying. I want to see you win, whether I know you or not, whether you're a mom, a millennial, or whatever. I really just want to put people in a better mindset, because we are the only generation that has experienced playing outside and the internet. And as much as we think we're killing it, it like messed us up, because it's so easy to get caught up. But I want to kind of bring people out and let them know, like, you can do everything and you don't need social media to tell you that you're it.
Yeah. And I think that point is so valid. Like we're one of the very few generations that's so misunderstood, because we're caught right in the middle of technology, and right in the middle of two completely different generations in its whole. So we know what it's like to have dial-up internet, and remember
MSN.
back to like, I remember having to like call my dad on his pager and wait for him to call me back.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I also remember what it was like to have like the little Nokia brick phone and play snakes on it, or have the Razor, you know, like
we're that
caught
go in the water and don't break.
Exactly. So we're literally that one generation that's in the middle of two completely different generations. And as such, I feel like there needs to be a lot of focus, there needs to be a lot of support, and that conversation that needs to be had. And it's not being had. So the fact that you were able to start something just based off of your own experiences, and go from there. And someone was saying, don't try to go from 0 to 100, go from 0 to 10, and then from 10 to 20. Progress is important. So not even trying to rush anything. And I think that leads into my next question in terms of like, what lessons or takeaways do you have from just really starting the process?
Lessons and takeaways. I think the most important thing for people to even understand is the hardest thing in the whole process. If you're talking about just anything in life, not even only business, but the hardest thing you can do in general is start. And like picking up the pen, say if you want to just journal, starting that, or you want to do a business, making that first post, or making your branding guidelines, like all of that. The hardest thing to do is start. And once you start, whatever starting looks like to you, whether it's telling a friend, whether it's a social media post, whether it's something just to yourself, that you need to understand is success. I think one of the big things I learned through the process is that I thought success was whatever the hell I thought was when I made it. That, you know, I am doing all these speaking engagements pre-COVID, traveling the world, like all of this stuff, just bringing my husband, bringing my kid, let's go, we're gonna see it, like, you know, all of that. And that's not what success is. It's those little steps, and every step that you get to is considered successful. And I think where we get lost and we get so frustrated, and I was in that point as well, because I'm like, oh, well, how come this hasn't happened to me yet? It was like, no, I gained a follower today. Someone DM'd me and told me how much I helped them. Like, that is successful shit. And I think with social media, success has kind of adjusted our mindset to become so number based, because success adjusted to, you're successful if you have X amount of followers, X amount of likes or views. And it messed us up, because at one point we were just happy that someone could recognize us, or someone, you know, supported us or bought our whatever. And then we got caught up to like, oh my goodness, I don't have 500 followers, I can't do this, or no one liked my photo, so I gotta delete and repost. Like, it's a bunch of foolishness. And it's not about that. Like, so I think, yeah, the biggest lesson, back to your question, is understanding that everything is successful. There's levels to success. So like, I think it was Marlene that said it, going from 0 to 10 and 10 to 20, those little steps, you need to celebrate those small wins, or you're just going to get pissed, because you're going to keep aiming for something so far, and you're not going to realize how far you came and how you've grown. And those are the stories that people need to hear.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's really just starting the process.
Starting is the hardest thing, because we get so in our own heads. Like, there's so many things that tell us, like ourselves tell us why we can't do it, and that we're not good enough. And our ego is almost protecting ourselves to be like, don't put yourself out there, because, you know, people might not like it, or might not like you, or whatever you're trying to do. And putting it out there, you're already killing.
Exactly. Yeah, no. And I want to say a huge shout out to a lot of the people that are on here. First of all, Mississauga is repping on a whole other level right now. But there's so many people in here who are entrepreneurs and who have started their own businesses. Like, I'm just going through the list, and like everyone that I'm seeing, there's so many people that have been on here and have really just started something within the last, I'd say 3 to 5 years. And it's like AJ said, just start. And then let it go from there. That's the hardest part, like you said. Now, during this whole process, and you've spoken about it also, even after having your son, there were various areas of maybe self-doubt, possible maybe depression or anxieties. How were you able to self-reflect and let's say break free of the bullshit?
I think through the process and those hard times, there was times where I had to take a break. Like, I was very, you know, with social media, a lot of it is based on consistency and needing to be consistent and posting frequently and engaging with followers. When I first started, as I mentioned before, when I thought like I needed to do the makeup and I needed to like not swear and do all of that, I was going hard with that. And I also, like how I mentioned, like AJ on location has his own videography business. So he had a whole setup in our place, like with the lighting and the cameras. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, this is not me, but I need to be consistent. I need to engage. I need to do whatever. And I took a break. And I think a lot of us are so scared to take a break and take the time to really self-reflect, because we think we're going to lose followers or lose engagement, lose whatever. But that, like, it actually doesn't matter. Like, if you thought it mattered, I'm telling you now, it doesn't matter, because if you don't have your own shit together, then those people are going to drop off anyways. You need to be okay not only mentally, but happy with what you're doing. So I took maybe like a month or two off to really reevaluate what I was doing and really understand my why, because I had not only the self doubt in terms of like how I need to appear on camera, but it was also like understanding my messages, like what, like the message I'm trying to put out there and the frequency and how I'm going to do it and how I want people to feel like listening to me and what I was trying to grow and do. So it really, like, the breaking free of the bullshit was really getting out of my own head and understanding like my why. Like, I'm not doing this for likes. I'm not doing this for follows. My why is this generation. And there's people that were in my head, and anyone who's trying to start something, people have probably been in your head saying, do it like this. Or people told me, like, Paige, you can't take on a whole generation. You need to focus on one thing. Or, you know, you're a mom, like, you should only focus on one aspect of that. Don't focus on everything and whatever. And it was really saying, like, no, I'm more than just this one thing. I want to talk about everything. And my why is to make a difference not only for our generation, but how we're viewed. So it really, the biggest thing for me was just taking a break and being confident within myself and my own purpose. And that's when, how you said you felt like everything happened overnight, because it was taking that break where shit just started happening. Like, when I literally just went in there with my dirty bun and my iPhone and my son yelling in the back, that is when Paige One is Some really took off. And when I started talking about whatever I want to talk about and saying shit every 5 seconds and just really being myself, that's how I really broke free.
It's like the real, organic, authentic you. Not
Exactly.
feeling like you have to appease to somebody else's expectations or what you might think is that perfect. It's just being you.
Exactly.
And Marlena said that now you can pick up the camera and just speak raw and real.
Yeah,
And that,
Marlena knows the struggle. She was there, and I was going through this whole process, because it is a lot of overthinking. And sorry, to add to your point too, it's also the people around me, which is what was very important. Like, having the right people surrounding you really makes a difference in your progress. As much as it's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm doing my own shit, independent, blah blah blah. Like, you're around people every day, and if those people don't have that right, like, I'm a big energy person, if that energy isn't right, it's gonna mess with you. Because I could have done this shit or done this business, sorry, a while ago, but it was all, not to blame the people I was around, but my energy, my headspace wasn't there. And when you're talking about something and you don't really have that support, or people downplay what you're doing, then that self-doubt in your own self, it just heightens even more, because like, you already think you can't do it, and then now everyone else is telling you you can't do it too. You're like, oh shit, let me just chill and go back to work at 9 a.m., you know? So
yeah. And you're so right about energy. Like, you attract the type of energy that you attract that type of energy. And again, when I look at the growth over the course of the last 2 years, and even just your circle, like your tribe,
yeah.
the growth within your tribe as well. Different individuals doing their own businesses and whatnot. That growth is radiated. Like, you yourself, your energy, your personality has always been one to radiate.
Oh,
But you also see that radiating amongst your people too, the people that are around you. Right? And I think that's why it's so important to be cognizant of the people that you have around you and the energy that you have around you. Because like you said, it can either bring you down or bring you up. And during that process, it's also important to recognize the fact that not necessarily everybody that's going along that journey with you is going to stay on that journey with you.
Oh yeah.
Right? People come in your life, and there's lessons they come in for lessons, and then they leave, and other people come into your life and continue sort of that journey with you. So, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to realize, is you can't necessarily bring everyone with you or expect everyone to support you in what you're doing. And I think that's when your real friends start to show.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to really deal with and understand. I'm only saying that because like that was me. I think my big awakening was even like when I got married, because there was people who I thought like we would be friends forever, and these people would be like my bridesmaids, and you just see how kind of things change in that sense. And like some people leave, sometimes you reconnect and all of that, but it is such a big energy thing. And some people, I think it was mentioned too, people are there for the seasons, and I don't think a friendship is ever a loss. I feel like it's either a win or a lesson. You either win or you learn. It's never a loss in any sense. But it's just really interesting to see that when things start to change in your life, how people react to those things. Not only a business, but like relationships or becoming a parent or anything like that. You really see how things adjust. And it really is those friends around you. You need those people to hype you, because no matter what you do, your own business or a sport or working for someone, whatever, like shit gets hard and you get down on yourself. And if you don't have those people that not only can hype you up, but if you can't have people that can check you, like I'm the one who said, I'm like, my friends know I'm an asshole, because once you're going left, I'm coming for you. I'm not going to just be complacent and be like, oh, don't worry, I'll pat you on your back. It's like, no, it's time. Like you're meant to do X, Y, Z. And that is what we need. We don't need all these yes ma'ams all the time. We don't need all these people pleasers. We need people to not only see our potential, but also bring us out, because again, self-doubt is everything. It really kind of hinders us from a lot of opportunities and success. So yeah, your circle, your energy is everything. And if there are any moms on the chat, like, when you have a child, like you could be okay with having shit people around you, but you're responsible for the energy you bring around your child. And that was a big adjustment too. When I became a mom, I can have all these like petty people around me, whatever, but once my kid sees you and he's pissed off around you, it's like I can't be putting him in those situations. But with my friends, shout out to my friends there, because you guys are killing it. So thanks for inspiring me. I see you guys in the chat. I can't read it because I can't multitask, but thank you.
So you're a Black woman that's a motivational speaker, an author, a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, in a creative industry that you've created for yourself. What are some of the challenges you've experienced? Because right now you're challenging the status quo in every which way possible.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges you've experienced?
Challenges have really, I think the first challenge has been my own self, because like all of those things you mentioned, I put that in front of myself as to why I can't go to the next step. So I figured like, to speak in a corporate space or to speak in like I've spoken at like universities and like different businesses and whatever. But it was like, okay, I'm Black, I'm a mother, I'm like a millennial. The people who are going to be hiring me, for one, are commonly not in my generation anyways. And it was really me getting out of my own head to be like, I don't give a shit, because I'm not doing this for you to book me. I'm doing this to help the people that will help the people. So it was really getting out of my own head, and it was me embracing myself. A lot of the opportunities, a lot of the people who have outreach to me was literally what you said. They were like, it was a whole thing of like me being Black, me being a mother, but it was also the way I speak about things. So their point to me is, there isn't someone like you. This was a lady, she owns this big podcast network, and she wanted me to create a podcast under her company, and she's Black. She said that there's no one like you. There's no one that looks like you, that speaks like you. And that's what we need to have more of. And I think that I don't think I ever really looked at those things as holding me back in a sense, because I didn't actually give a shit, because I never had an intention with Paige One Some. So I never planned to make money. I was never trying, minus the beginning of me being kind of lost. I was never trying to impress people. I was never trying to get booked. I was never trying to get hired. I like people judging me like I don't give a shit. I have friends. Like, I'm married. I'm not looking for love. I don't need you. I don't need to impress you. So I was already kind of being like, I don't give a shit about anyone in general. I was very tunnel vision of what the purpose was. And the first company that contacted me to speak was Humber College. And I like shit my pants because I'm like, I say shit every day. And now they want me to come to their school and talk to like these students and whatever. And then that's when I started to realize what I was doing. And I'm like, I can't say shit anymore. I need to like look like this and whatever. And then it was literally in a split second I changed, saying like, no, they hired you for being you, and you looking the way you look and living the life you're living and talking the way you talk. It comes to a point where I said like, being you is actually enough. You stay consistent in being yourself and not getting lost in the sauce and understanding your purpose and your why and genuinely giving a shit about people, not doing things for money. You'll get paid. Everything will come. And there will be nothing to hold you back except yourself. People can have their opinions, then they can have their opinions. Who cares? Because you're killing anyways. Plus, like I said, 2025, it's all millennials. So people older than us can be pissed that we're gonna run the business anyways. So your time is ticking. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, it's true. How do you take time for yourself? When do you take time for yourself?
Oh my gosh. When do I take time? I was not expecting this question because I don't really know when I take time. It depends on like what taking time is for you. So because I work all the time, it's my taking time is spending the time with like my husband and my son. That's my taking time, or you know, doing little things with my friends. Yeah, Marlena's saying good question because I've been telling her I'm so damn tired every day because it's literally nonstop. And I think, okay, well, the answer, no, I don't take time for myself, basically. But if it's just alone time, it's, you know, being with friends or being with family. Taking time from work, I force myself to take the time, or I'll do the work later on, because it's right now I'm at a time in life where things need to get done. So I have a lot of deadlines happening. See, now my husband's saying I'm gonna go home and be like, see, babe, you don't take time for yourself. But no, like I have the times if I'm super tired, my husband will be like, oh, go nap or go do whatever. But yeah, taking time. My time, the time I take is with my family, because that's really what fulfills me. Time flies. Like I have a 2-year-old, he's growing so fast. So that's the time that really matters. But alone time is just when I'm sleeping.
But you know what? It's about finding your peace. So if your family is your peace, your son and your husband's your peace, then that's your time.
Yeah.
And I know right now you've got your book that's coming out, and you've been super busy with this book.
Yeah.
So once this book has been launched, hopefully you get a little bit, and AJ, I'm gonna hold you to this. Hopefully you get a little bit of just you time.
Yes.
But speaking about your book, so Break Free from the Bullshit, you basically posted everything from the very beginning when you thought of the idea to start this book, and you've incorporated your audience as much as possible, from picking the title, looking at the covers for the book. You've incorporated your audience from the very beginning, and they've seen, like you mentioned, the journey, not just the good, but also the not so great.
Yeah.
They've seen the different levels to it up until now, where now your book's available for pre-order.
Yes.
What motivated you to write a book in the first place?
The biggest motivation for me was pre-COVID. I was getting booked very frequently for speaking engagements. And when the speaking engagement aspect really popped up, I was also doing one-on-one coaching. Like it was essentially like empowerment coaching, basically getting people out of their head, helping them get their shit together, and so on. But I had a few clients doing that, not a lot. Most of my income was based off speaking engagements. And I did one talk, and there was someone that I spoke with. They were like, they've been speaking. They were like a seasoned speaker, and their advice they gave me, they're like, oh, you know, they told me, you know, you're gonna go really far. I love what you're doing. I'm like, thanks. They're like, but what you need to do is separate yourself from your audience. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they were like, you know, when you speak, when you're at, like, say, for example, I'm at Humber, I was speaking on stage, and then I should leave, right? Just go into the back room, pack up my stuff, and go. Like, don't speak to them after. If they want to speak to you, they could do the free consultation, and then they could book you for whatever, right? So when we had that conversation, I'm like, what the hell? No. Like, I speak in general all the time. So after all of my speaking engagements, I always stay and speak to the people who want to, like, talk to me. And it's such a beautiful thing because people are like, oh, I've been following. The people I just wouldn't know me, or there's no way we would have mutual friends. They'd be like, you know, I followed you from the beginning. I've, like, whatever. And I get to really connect with them in that sense. And I realize, like, the people that I am targeting my messages towards, like, my demographic, you can't always afford these one-on-one coaching sessions and whatever. But I don't want people to ever feel like they can't have access to me, where whether it's like, okay, book this consultation on Instagram, but, like, that stuff could be, like, it gets a little pricier, right? Or, like, wherever I'm speaking at, most of my speaking engagements have been, like, well, now it's usually virtual, but it was through organizations or through schools. If you're not in school right now, or if you're not a part of this organization, we're never going to see each other, right? And it turned into a conversation. I have a business manager, and my business manager and I were talking, and I'm like, you know what? I really want to be able to connect with people, not just through, like, Instagram, not just through social media, because not everyone will DM me. Like, there's some people who will just be like, oh, I don't really DM, or, you know, you may not respond, but I'm like, what? I respond to everybody. Like, of course, DM me, but not everyone will always reach out to someone, right? Yeah. And when him and I were speaking, he's like, you got to write a book. And I'm like, oh, no one's going to read, like, a book if I write a book. And it turned into a way that, you know, a way to really connect with my audience in a different way, but to be able to kind of have that access, because the way it's written is essentially what I have on Instagram. So my Instagram is a whole bunch of videos of whatever, as we mentioned, things that I've experienced, gone through, whatever. So it's called Break Through the Bullshit, a Millennial Empowerment Guide. So it's targeted towards millennials with the examples, but anyone can use it. But it's essentially like a motivational book to help you break free of the bullshit. But I've also incorporated activities in every chapter. So it's not going to be a thing where you're going to read a book and you're going to feel hype and post it on Instagram and be like, look, I'm empowered, like, I'm motivated. Like, it forces you to do the work. So the same way when I'm speaking with people in my DMs, or when I did the one-on-one sessions, or when I'm at my speaking engagements talking to someone face to face, like, I'm there in a book saying, like, get your shit together. Like, I'm yelling at you there to get it together. And that was just a way to really be able to connect with people in a different way, because I can't assume everyone's just gonna reach out to me. And, like, I think sharing the process on social media really kind of opened the doors to people who wouldn't have usually messaged me, because when, like, things were hard, I was saying, like, guys, I don't know if I'm going to continue this, like, you know, all of that stuff. And I want people to know, regardless of who you think I am, or what you think I'm doing, whether you think I'm, like, doing shit or not, like, I'm here, I'm a person, like, still reach out to me. Like, you want to write a book and you want to know the process, I will tell you the process. Like, I want everyone to win. I want everyone to do the shit they wanted to do, because I didn't do things for years because I didn't even know where to start. So that was the biggest reason for the book, is to help people get out of their head in a different element, and to do something that's not commonly, or hasn't really been done before, because what I'm doing hasn't really been done in my kind of regard either.
Yeah, no, it's valid. And there's so much, I like the idea of it really forcing you to do the work. So it's not just something that you can breeze through and get through and be like, hey, I finished the book, now it's going back on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because I think that then holds you accountable, and not just you, but I mean the reader accountable. Because it's so easy to just go to Indigo, buy a book, be like, oh yeah, this is a super dope book, I recommend it, read it, yeah, it was super dope, and then it goes on the shelf and you don't open it up again.
And then you don't do shit after. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
can you let everyone know where they can find your book? How do they pre-order?
Yes.
All the details.
So there's a couple different ways you can go on, since we're on Instagram anyways. You can go on my Instagram. So it's Paige, Paige, the number one of some. Well, you can see it on the corner there. And there's a link there. So it says pre-sale available. You can click that link. The website is breakfreeofthebsbook.com. I also have the view shop icon on my Instagram. You can just click that. It will bring you there as well. What I did for the pre-sale was really, again, trying to not do things as they commonly are. So I'm trying to do like a reader's experience. So for the pre-sale, it's not just the book. There's a lot of bonus options as well. So there's different tiers, and it comes with different things like pens, because you are forced to do the work. So there's pens, bookmarks, reading lights. There's wine, because I love wine, so I made my own wine too. So there's different kind of levels there. So that's available to the pre-sale, which will be until December 1st. And then I'll be shipping everything out. It'll also be available. It's available on Kindle as well. It'll be available on Amazon too after December 1st. But if you want to get the cool stuff, you might as well do the pre-sale. So yeah, you can check it out there.
Amazing. So what's next?
What's next is
After you get your break and your little bit of time for yourself,
yeah.
What's next?
So my business manager and I are working on a potential book tour, which is, there was a plan before COVID, but now everything kind of has to be rewritten in terms of like it'll be virtual. Yeah. So we're kind of seeing the process on that. I'm working on some new things in terms of developing page runners. So I'm kind of getting more into different forms of writing. So writing for different like magazines, and getting my voice out there in a different way outside of social media. But it's really whatever I can do to connect with people, kind of keeping that narrative alive. And I am planning on another book. So depending on how, I'm hoping this one goes well, I'll be doing a part 2. But I've already started working on a millennial mom version. So that will be for next year, just really talking about the shit that moms go through. I know not a lot of my followers are moms, but it's the biggest part of my life. And there's a lot of things that aren't discussed or talked about that I feel like would have been really helpful if I knew about it, even feeling like there's a form of community. So yeah, writing some more books, recording some more videos, speaking with some more people, and just keeping the conversations alive and really seeing whatever I could do to help people, because we are the best generation out there. So whatever I can do to make it better.
Alien's asking if we can get a vlog from page 1 of Sun.
Alien. So, so Alien is someone who, from literally the beginning when I had like the idea and when Paige Sun really kind of developed, he was one of the people there who was super helpful, super supportive, and has been mentioning me doing a blog for a long time. The only thing that I can't constantly say is I don't feel like my life is that interesting to have a vlog, because I just work and I chill with my family. But maybe, you know, when life slows down and I get that break, I may be able to do the vlog. So thank you, Alien.
Alrighty. So, what advice do you have for millennials, for those who are coming out of high school, trying to figure out what they want to do? If you want to just give like some quick advice that you have for them and kind of really just figuring out what it is that they want to do.
So advice for anyone like coming out of like high school or like university? Okay, out of high school. So for one, the biggest advice, especially with that age difference from what I am, you're probably very immersed in social media. And my first advice before you even think about career is understand who you are and your own identity. I think at that point it's still very difficult, but still have a way to separate yourself outside of social media. If Instagram, TikTok, whatever the hell ended tomorrow, who would you be? And whatever you want to do for work, because I know in high school they force you to choose your whole career in 5 seconds when you haven't even like took a breath yet. Understand your why, understand your purpose, but think about what you said you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were younger. And if, as long as it wasn't like maybe it was a superhero, whatever, but like if you could understand who you wanted to be before you were tainted and before, you know, the world told you you couldn't do that, don't think about the certain job, think about the purpose and the why behind that job, then that role will come. If it's you starting your own business, start. That is the hardest thing. Just start. Don't listen to yourself. Don't listen to what people tell you. You have it. If your reasoning for something is right, and not right, but right for you, then you do it. And we need to understand, like, it's not ever about one-upping people. You want to see everyone win. So keep that mindset of a collective winning mindset, and everything will come the way you want it to and the way it's supposed to come. But just don't get too caught up in your own bullshit, because break free of that bullshit. And yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing this space with me. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I'm finally glad that we've been able to. Again, like, just need to big you up for everything you've been doing,
Thank you.
seeing
I
that
love
journey.
this.
Keep the energy, keep the vibe. It's been an amazing time to be able to just see the progress and the growth overall. And I'm super excited to see what's coming in the future and what you've got in store, as I'm sure quite a few are as well. For those who haven't already pre-ordered, please be sure to check out Paige's website as well as her Instagram so that you can pre-order her book. And yeah, if you just want to leave your website, your Instagram, ways that they can contact you again.
Yeah, so Instagram is Paige one of some, so in the corner PAIGE, the number one of some. Instagram, or my website, breakfreeofthebsbook.com. Easiest way is just to click the link on my Instagram, because it's a long ass website. My publisher said it should be like that. It wasn't my choice, so super long, but that's that. If you guys do use Facebook, it's just Paige one of some on Facebook. And yeah, like, if you guys have questions or just want to talk, like, DM me. Like, I am so open. Like, that's part of my free time, or in the middle of the night or whatever. DM me, because if you have any questions, maybe you didn't ask the question in the chat, but any questions about any failures I've experienced or directions, or maybe you want to do something similar, I will give you all the answers. I'm not holding back. It's not a one-up thing. It's not anything like that. Whatever I can do to help, please holler at your girl. I'm here.
Amazing. Well, thank you again so much
Thank
for all
you for
that you
having
do.
me.
Keep up the good work. To everybody that's been watching, thank you for tuning in. A few things quickly. Tomorrow we're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, our Empowerment to Unlock the Justice System, Increasing Community Mental Health Supports, which will be hosted by my co-host, Natasha Pennycook, who you've seen commenting throughout, our psychotherapist. And December 12th, we have our Stop the Gun Violence virtual concert that's going to be happening. So hit me up for details, send us a DM, hit up Paige in her DMs as well, get that support, break free from the bullshit. And yes, thank you again, babe, so much.
Thank you for having me, and
no
thank you everyone
worries.
for tuning in. Have a good
All
night.
right. Have a good night.
Bye.